All right, recording is now started. Welcome back, guys. So last class we took a look at like the Magic 8 Ball app, kind of looked at some review of our previous mechanics and looked at a couple new things to kind of get a shake going with our app, and some other things like clickable images and just kind of reviewing the basic stuff. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create another game. How many of you guys have played Tic-Tac-Toe?
Yes.
I would imagine all of you have at least once played tic-tac-toe in your life. Basically, today we're going to be making a tic-tac-toe app. So this is going to require a little bit more code on the coding side. But don't worry, the code itself is not very complicated. It's just fairly repetitive because it's not very easy to optimize it in MIT App Inventor. But we're going to do our best to take a look at a couple new concepts today. We're going to take a look at functions. All right, which will try to compact our code a little bit. And we're going to take a look at some other concepts in the coding world. Because when we're playing tic-tac-toe, right, if you kind of go over the game, you're placing X's and O's, and you have to actually kind of keep in track in the code's mind who's playing next and what kind of sign to put when they press that next button, all right? So let me share my screen real quick.
Greg, did you have a question? No? Never mind.
Oh. Okay. So as you can see here, the tic-tac-toe game by itself right now is not very complicated. Just like in regular tic-tac-toe, all you have is you have a 3x3 grid. All right. And just to make it so that you can actually place things on this 3x3 grid, we have these buttons here. All right, so these buttons allow you to just click on them, right? And they'll know when you click on them. And then kind of in the back end of our code, we're going to make it so that when we click on one of these buttons, it's going to place either an X or an O in that exact one. The code we're making is going to be pretty simple. So it's going to rely on the users not being not trying to use the app incorrectly. So there will be a couple glitches that we'll see, that we can talk about how we could fix those after we're done with that. But for now, let's take a look at how we can create this. So everyone go My Projects, start a new project, and call this tic-tac-toe.
So wait, this time we're gonna be using a table arrangement, right? That's 3x3.
Yes. All right, yeah, guys, so first step in our program, right, as you saw in the previous one, on the top, there was a little label here that said tic-tac-toe, all right? So if you guys want to go ahead and add one of those to our screen, go and grab a label, drag it out here, and give it some settings. So go ahead and give it font size, I don't know, 25. You guys can customize this however you want. And if you want to center it, you can fill parent and center the text.
The tricky part is getting the buttons to the right size, because fill parent isn't quite like.
Let me check what I did.
Still going in the other direction.
Okay, so for mine, I just gave them manual dimensions. So they were 33% width, 20% height.
Oh, okay. That's gonna wait. So what was it?
23%, 33% width. So
Okay.
that together they add up to 100, and then 20% height. All right, guys. So let's go now and talk about how we're going to arrange our buttons. Right, so there's a couple ways we could do this. Either we could just use, we could technically use a vertical or horizontal arrangement, just like we did before. and lay them out all side by side. I think the better way to do it for this app is called a table arrangement. So you guys have probably used tables before in like math or somewhere in school. A table, right, is just like a grid with rows and columns. And you can assign how many squares, for instance, like it has on it. All right. They look a little bit different in MIT App Inventor because they don't really have like a grid lining to them. But if you go under layout, right underneath horizontal arrangement, you see table arrangement. I'm going to drag that out here. Okay, so for this table arrangement, you also want to make sure it fills up the entire screen. So for that, we're going to go to height and fill parent, and same with our width. Now, before we actually fill this with anything, let's finish the bottom part of our app as well. All right. If you noticed with the old app, where was it? Here it is. It has a little restart button at the bottom. All right. So you can click this button. It will reset the app for you. All right. And you'll actually notice here this table arrangement is only set to automatic width, but that's okay. Anyway, let's go back to the tic-tac-toe here. And before we do anything else, let's go and put a button at the bottom of our screen.
Tim?
Yes.
Under the button, can we put a label so when the end of the round, it can say who won?
Yeah, you can do that as well. If you want to add a who won label, you can put that down there. But then you have to add something to your program that actually detects 3 in a row. And
Well, yeah, that's going to be hard.
So that'll be a little tricky, but we should be able to do that if we really go through it. So this is going to be my reset button. Say reset. I can move it around if I want. I can put a horizontal arrangement and center it. All right. But yeah, you guys can play around with this button. It doesn't have to be in a certain position. I'm going to make it a little bigger maybe. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our table and take a look at the settings here, the properties for our table. All right, you'll notice right now it's got 4 distinct properties, right? It's got columns, height, width, and rows. All right, columns and rows basically addresses how many items you can put in this. So it means you can put 2, for columns, you can put 2 vertically and 2 horizontally. All right. So if you look at like another table, right? If I had like 3, let me find a better table. If I had like a 3 by 3, that would be 3 columns and 3 rows. All right. So that's what we want for tic-tac-toe. We want it to be a 3 by 3 grid. All right. So we're gonna set columns to 3 and rows to 3. Okay. And this will allow us to properly put in all of our buttons. Okay, so now I'm gonna drag my buttons in, put 1. You see right now, like it gives me 3 slots, 3 by 3 grid of slots to put them in. And so I'm gonna put 1 right here, 1 right here, 1 right here, 1 here, 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 and here. All right, and then next, as you noticed before, we want these buttons to be completely blank until we fill them in. So I'm just going to completely blanken them. So I'm going to delete their text. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit of a tedious process because you can't really copy and paste in MIT Inventor. So you're going to have to just go manually, get rid of everything, and set all their heights.
Wait, what I do is I just put in some dots and then if I have enough dots I want the size to be, like how much dots I put in is probably how much width there is, and I just set the text color to nothing.
Okay, but then when you change the text later, it's gonna get all messed up.
Yeah, but then I'll change the text color to black before I change the text to.
Yeah, but is the button not gonna resize when you change the text later?
Oh yeah, that might be a problem, but can we do fill parent? Will fill parent work?
Let me try real quick.
For the width of all the buttons.
Okay, so since this is a table arrangement, the little tiny like area that it allows it to fill up is what it's trying to fill up. So the table actually shrinks to the size of the button, and then when the button tries to fill its as much space as it can, it gets constrained by the table. So you need to tell the button like exactly how big it needs to be. But fortunately, since we know that we want this button to fill up like 1/3 of my screen widthwise, right? We know that 1/3 of 100% is like approximately 33. All right, it doesn't need to be exact. But so that means if we go to width and we set it to percent and type 33, you'll see it gets nice and wide. Also, the great thing is you don't actually have to assign this width to all of them. You assign it to one, and the other ones kind of just automatically stretch to fill the size. All right, guys, so what you're seeing here, I put all the buttons in, I deleted all their text, and now I'm going through all of them and assigning their width to 33%. All right, I'm going to go through.
My outside is done. Now I'll go to blocks.
I'm going to go through the vertical ones too. So I'm going to assign their height to this part you can actually play around with to see how much looks good. For instance, since my screen is bigger vertically, to make it my box a square, I'm going to have to give it a lower percent. So right now this is 30%, but 30% of my screen vertically is more than 30% of my screen widthwise. So it's going to start looking weird. Let's try 20. 20 does look decently okay. All right. So I think I'll probably just leave it at 20. Unfortunately, when you do height, it doesn't work the same way as width. So they don't all just kind of fill themselves. So you're going to go through all the heights, set them to 20% or another percent if you so desire. Okay, I understand this part was very tedious, so I will give you guys a couple minutes to get through it. So once again, if you guys need any help, raise your hands or send a message into the chat, and we can try to help you out, because that was a little bit confusing.
So if you actually click on one and then hold Control and then click on the other ones, you can select them all and then change properties at once.
Is this legal?
I did it with 2 just now. Yep, it's legal. Very fun.
Why does it not click OK? Hold up. That does in fact work. Very cool.
Yeah, so you don't have to go through and click on every single button individually.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that does work. Yeah, guys. So if you want to set all of the heights to like 20%, what you can do is you can click on one button, hold Control, and then go through all the other buttons and click them. Oh, and click them all. All right. And you'll see all of them have this little green outline, even though in the components menu they're not really highlighted. All right. But here, if you do it in this, you have to do it in this screen, and it works. And then you can go over to the properties and change any properties that you want. So for instance, height, I will set that, I don't know, let's say if I set it to 25, you'll notice all of them get a little bigger. Oh, a lot bigger. All right. Or you can set them to 20. All right. So that's a little way to get a little quicker. Okay.
Tim,
Yes, Adil.
why is a gap between the the buttons?
In between the buttons? Like a big gap or like the same gap as on my screen?
It's bigger than yours, than the one on your screen.
Do you know how to share your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing mine. Can you share yours real quick and we'll take a look.
Okay.
Who needed help? What was going on there?
Okay, can you hold control?
Yep.
Do Max have control, right? And now click on all of the buttons.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
now go over to the properties menu and where it says height,
Yep.
yeah, click that and then put % and type 20 and click OK. You can let go of control.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
There you go. Now your buttons seem a little more controlled. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Ozzy, did you drag the buttons out onto the screen already?
Yeah.
Yep. So now do you see like a small grid of 9 buttons?
Yeah.
Okay. So all we're doing is we're clicking on each one, or we're selecting all of them, and then just changing the width to be about 30% so that they kind of fill up the screen nicely, and changing the height to be 20% of each square. Just of each button.
Okay, but should I use the table? Oh, but how do I make the buttons blank?
Oh, so we just went down. So if you click on the button, it has a field for text, and we just got rid of the text.
Can you get rid of the text in same manner? Select all of them and just.
Yeah. I think so.
I see you want to share your screen, so I can help you too.
I'm done.
She got it. Yep.
Okay, so let's do a quick check. If you're done and have the screen looking like Teams, table arrangement 3x3 table, can you please type yes? Yeah. Y? Y for yes? Okay, perfect. Yes, yes. Okay. Okay. Azima, how about you? Are you there?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, like, are you okay? You're done, you managed to do the table?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So just type Y.
Now I'm already in my back end.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, Tim, I think we can move on. Yeah. Great.
Okay. Alrighty, so let me share my screen one more time. Yeah, okay, here we go. So now that we're done with our front end mostly here, so right now we have all of our buttons laid out side by side. Nothing actually happens if we click them right now. All right, so we can start getting coding with our actual tic-tac-toe game to make it so that when we press buttons, X's and O's appear, and then we can go and start customizing some stuff later. All right, so let's talk about it for a little bit. When we press on, let's say we're running through again. When I press on this button here, let's just say I'm going to start by clicking and making an X. All right, so it's going to place an X here. But the program needs to somehow know that my next click, if I click here, is going to be an O. And the one after it over here is going to be an X, then an O, and then X, and O, X, O, X.
Oh,
Right.
can we do like a thing how when you click it and it changes it to it changes the text to a variable, and the variable will have an X, probably just an X to start off. but then it changes, but then it runs a command if that button's text equals X. Set the variable to O. So next time it'll put it as O.
Yes, that is actually exactly what we will be doing. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a variable. All right, it's going to be basically it's going to hold the value for who the next turn is going to be. All right. So in that variable, there'll be either an X or an O. All right, and every time we click a button, it's going to place the variable's value as the text on that button, and then it's going to switch the variable value. If it's an X, it's going to switch to an O. And if it's an O, it's going to switch to an X. All right. So let's go to blocks and start by taking a look at how we would do that. Okay. So let's start by creating this variable. So let's go to variable and select initialize global name 2. All right, here for name, I'm going to switch the name of this variable to next turn. And then the value that it assigns it to, all this is going to be is it's going to be a text string. All right, and it's going to be set by default to the value X. I'm going to make this a capital X just so it looks nicer. All right.
Can I start mine with an O?
Oh yeah, if you want to start with an O, you just have to put an O in this box.
We're hearing some background noise. I think Aisha, it might be coming from you. Could you please mute maybe your microphone, because we kind of hear what the parents are talking about. Okay, thank you.
Wait, can I share my screen for a second or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Here you go.
Okay. Will this will probably work, right? So if I do this, so if slot1.text equals, and then let's put a string here. That's maybe, yeah. If it's O, then set the variable, set global next turn to an X.
Yeah, that would basically be how you do it. You don't necessarily need to say slot1.text though. You can just say if the next turn variable is set to X right now, switch it to O, and if it's O, switch it to X. So you can replace slot1 with get global.
Yeah, that's gonna be easier. So, okay, I'll stop sharing my screen now. Wait, no, that's just pause. Yeah. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay. I'm dumb. I don't know how to use Zoom. And then we just, I guess we just duplicate that for everyone.
So yeah, for starters, we're going to try to do that. And then we'll try to see if there's an easier way to do that. All right. We'll maybe bring in some ways that we can optimize our code a little. All right. So let's take a look at this. So yeah, for kind of like what Arik said, the first thing we want to do is we want to take our button. Okay, I'm going to start with like button 2, for instance. Renaming them would also be a good idea if you want to rename them into like their slots. So you can say one button one dot click. Oh, Give me a second. My thing just kind of. This is a different thing. Okay, you're gonna say when button2.click. All right. For the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna set the text inside that box to be equal to this letter that's currently in our next turn variable. Somebody sent something to the chat. Give me 1 second. Oh, that's not it. Zoom in. Yes. Sorry. Is that better? Okay. All right. Yeah. So we're gonna say when button1.click. We're gonna take when button2.click. We're gonna set button2.text to whatever next turn is currently equal to. Get next turn. All right, and then here's the part that Arig showed off. We're going to now take the variable next turn, and we're going to kind of toggle its value. So if it's currently equal to x, we're going to set it to O, and if it's currently equal to O, we're going to set it to x. And for this, we're going to have to be using an if statement, all right, because we won't really know if it's an x or an O without using one of those, all right? So for if statement, we're going to go to control. All right, we're gonna grab our if statement then. All right, right here, if then. Actually, we can probably grab an else, if then else statement like this. All right, you see there's a couple statements in here. I'm pretty sure you can just customize them though. So they're all essentially the same, just with different customizations. But this one is already pre-built for us. So grab this if then else statement out. All right, and drag it underneath button 2. So how an if then else statement works is it basically says if a condition that you put in here is met, it's going to run the code over here. But if it's not met, then it's going to run the code that's down here. All right, this works for us because since we have only 2 possible values that it could be, right? We can basically say if it's equal to x, set it to O. If it's not equal to x, that means it's already equal to O, which means we can just set it to x. All right, so we're going to go in here, and in this if statement, we're going to go under logic and grab this green guy here with the equal sign. Okay, you want to make sure you're not accidentally using the math one. All right, you want to grab, not this one, you want to grab the logic one. All right, and then we're going to drag this in here. And we're going to grab get global next turn. Here it is. And we want to check if it's equal to the string x. All right, there you go. All right, so this is saying if it's going to be equal to x, set it to O. If it's not equal to x, that means it is O, which means we can just set it to x. All right, and then we can do some settings. So we're going to set next turn to O, and then over here we're going to set next turn to x.
Wait, do we have to use else? Because I think we need to, because for some reason there's just a chance for it to be an x. If I turn on my video here, this is what happens. So wait, I need to turn off the virtual backgrounds. So for this, I can just press X, it'll sometimes toggle, but the next it just toggles X.
Yeah, if the board is already filled up, it's gonna be a little bit weird.
Oh.
Clear your screen and see if it works.
Okay. Go here and refresh.
Because this is kind of intended to work when there is nothing previously made in the square. All right.
That's weird. Try setting them up.
All right, guys, yeah. So if you guys finish this code up here and you want to give this a test, right now it's only working with one of the buttons that we've assigned it to. All right. So you can give this a test, run it onto your device or your emulator if you have one, and just try clicking on the button, see what happens, see if it works. All right. And see what it does. Try to click it multiple times, and you'll actually see that it switches values every single time that you click it.
Okay, I figured out we need to use else because my thing isn't working. It doesn't do the top 3.
What does your code look like right now? Can you show me yours?
Yeah, sure.
Because
So,
I'm using else here.
yeah, I'm starting to use else and I think it's working now.
Oh, you use two
Yes,
experiments.
So now I'm using else and it's working out a bit more. Oh wait, can you see my screen right now?
Yeah, we can see it. We can see it.
Let me-
Next thing, I'm gonna actually show you something that you can do to kind of shorten our code a little bit. All right, and then I'm gonna show you something that can shorten our code a lot.
Okay, I'm just gonna stop sharing.
All right, where's my mouse? Here's my mouse. All right, let me start sharing my screen.
Nice.
So guys, you will notice at some point when you start, if I wanted to try to make this exact code for another button, what I would have to do, right, is I would right-click duplicate, and I'd have 2 of these, and then I would just have to go here, and everywhere it says button 2, I would change button 2 to like button 3. All right, but like now I'm gonna have to do this again. All right, let's go here. Now I'm gonna switch these to button 4. All right. The one thing that I don't change in all of these buttons when I duplicate them is this entire chunk of code right here. This chunk of code stays the same, all right, in every single one of these, all right? But for some reason, we're still reusing this chunk of code over and over again, all right? We're copying it over. So for instance, if I wanted to replace all of my O's with like a question mark, right? I would have to go here every time it says O, put a question mark. Put a question mark, put a question mark, all right? I cannot do that, okay. But, so see, that takes a long time, and I've only made 3 buttons. All right, so what we can actually do is we can take this entire chunk of code and make it into something called a function. So a function is basically like a little box that you can put a little piece of code inside, and then you can use that box over and over again in other places, right? So it's kind of linking that function to your original piece of code. All right, so let me show you how we could do this in MIT App Inventor. This is something that most programming languages use to kind of make your code a lot nicer and avoid kind of dealing with big, long, repetitive spaghetti code. All right, so what we're going to do to make a function, we're going to go in MIT App Inventor. It's actually not called a function, it's called a procedure. But in most other programming languages, it's called a function. So that's what we will address it by. So if you click on procedures on the left side here, it's the purple one. You will notice 2 different types of procedures here. There is a to-do procedure and a to-results procedure. All right. You'll notice which one you want to use depending on what kind of blocks you're going to have. So we kind of want to use this to-do procedure because we're going to be putting this chunk of code inside it, which it fits nicely into. All right, so I'm going to drag this to-do procedure out. All right, this will be somewhere off on the sidelines. This is kind of like a variable, but instead of holding like a letter or a number inside, it's going to hold a bunch of code. All right, and then here, I'm going to switch the procedure name to toggle next turn or switch next turn. Yeah, you can call it whatever you want. Switch next turn. And then I'm going to put this piece of code inside it. All right, now this next part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete everywhere where I had that code before. And instead of that code, actually, I'm going to just delete everything. Except for this part, this one guy here. All right, and now instead of putting this big if statement down there, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to procedures and grab this one here where it says call switch next turn and just pop it on the end. All right. So now this is just linking this piece of code in here. So this would be the same as if I just put this guy in here. All right, but this is a lot tidier. And if I ever changed anything in here, I wouldn't have to change it in 9 different places. I could just change it once and it works. All right, yeah, Areg?
Wait, so I didn't quite understand. Is that the variable, but instead of, because the puzzle pieces are sometimes they connect sideways and then sometimes they can connect like from downwards.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a variable, but it's not the actual variable tool. This is called a procedure. So if you go under procedures and grab this to do procedure, to procedure do, it like creates a little, it creates a function that allows you to just take code that you reuse a lot and compact it into like one little line. All right.
So you guys just learned a very, very important concept in programming, which called functions. And it's so easy to do it here. I'm really impressed and amazed with how MIT App Inventor teaches this to kids. So this is awesome. Literally all programmers out there, that's the only way they can coordinate working on a project with other programmers, right? Like imagine if that was just a one long code and everyone would be like trying to do a Google share or something. That's not how programmers work in the working environment. What they do instead, they each of them write one separate function, and then they have a separate code that pretty much just calls all these functions, okay? So here they call it procedure. If you click on that, you can see that there are 2 types of those functions and procedures. One of them would just do something. It's just like a little separate program that you write, okay? And then you can call it from within another program just by calling its name. It's like literally any other function, print, or any other function you can actually see that built into your program already. This one you're just writing on your own, okay? So this is a very cool concept. The second type of function is if you're setting up some variables from within that little function, from within that self-contained program, but any variables that you need to access from outside the function, then you need the second type, which actually has a result, which returns something from within this little cooking pot so that you can use in your program, okay? So in this case, we don't need any variables. We don't need access to anything from within the function. We just want to do the job. That's why we're using the do function here, and we're just like putting it inside of our program by just calling it. Okay, so that's very important concept. Remember that. It's very easy how they actually demonstrate it here, but it's actually very, very important concept in programming. And it's called, it can be called functions, it can be called methods. Here it's called procedures, but in essence, it's the same thing. Okay? Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So now that we have this code is basically as short as we can get this part right now. All right. I'm going to show you a cool trick at the very end. But for now, what we need to do is we need to take this code and we need to make sure that we assign it to all of our different buttons. All right. So this part is going to be very tedious. All we're going to have to do is we're going to keep duplicating it and switching these 2 buttons right here to the next one. All right. You want to keep doing that. You want to make sure you're not accidentally doing it on your reset button though. So real quick, actually go back to your designer, find your reset button and rename it to reset button. Right. And then these guys I will leave as they are. And then you go through the blocks and you want to keep duplicating over and over and over again.
Wait, so Tim, after everybody finishes this, can we try to implement the winning feature?
Yeah, if we want, we can try to do that as well. That'll be a little bit more complicated, but I think we can probably figure it out.
Okay, so it's 11:46. Everyone just do the copy paste and change the button names, and then we can go for a 5-minute break, okay? And just if you've done this step, type yes, why that you've done, no if you're still working on it, or I need help if you need help. Deal? If you've done this step, you can take a 5-minute break.
I'm just gonna go drink some water.
Okay. M. I was able to take all of this code and compact it into one function.
All of this?
All of it.
Nice.
So that's what we'll do next.
How did you compact it into one function?
You shall see. Ah, I just lost a Cliff Bar.
Oh no. I should gain a Cliff Bar. Eradicate messages. I'm gonna try to unblock this fun Android so that I can use it too.
Unblock?
Because it has a pattern password and I have no idea what it is.
Do a Z.
No.
I feel like I remember what your password was. What was it?
I don't know.
Was it a W?
I tried that.
Try the other way.
We'll find out in a sec.
Okay. Search up how to boot it into recovery mode and then just
So there's a way that you can unlock it with your Google account. And I tried my Google account and it's not my Google account.
is it mine?
I doubt it. I don't know why it would be yours.
Does it tell you whose Google account it is?
No.
Okay. Emily, turn the phone off. Turn it off. You're muted. I can't hear you. You're muted. Dude, you're muted. Okay, I unmute you. Okay, fine. Anyway, hold your volume up and power key together until you see like a weird terminal window appear on your phone. Bro, I can't read lips.
Wait, can he or she type in chat if like what she wants to say?
I don't know. Emily theoretically can.
I'm just gonna add some music to my game.
Подожди, а у меня разве не muted было?
Come on, why did I close that?
Okay, is everyone back yet?
I'm back.
Almost.
I'm back. I didn't know about the
I'm
other.
back.
I'm back.
I left my video. And maybe I should make it less messy. This is so hard. Ah, what did I do?
I'm back.
All right. Is everyone? Adil, are you back?
Yeah.
Okay, then I think that's
Yeah.
basically everyone, right? So we can probably get started with our next thing. So, with this app, we basically have all of the X and O functionality going. So I'm actually going to give this a test real quick, and I'll show you my screen through my webcam. Hopefully that will work.
Try to steal someone else's phone.
All right, and can you guys? Oh, it's invisible. No. Okay, hold up. We'll hold it at my body. If I click the buttons, yeah, you definitely can't see it, but they do turn into X's and O's. The X's and O's are very small, so that's one thing we might want to change. What we can do is we can go to the designer real quick and make it so that their font size is way bigger. So for this, I'm going to hold Control and click on all of them. Go under font size and increase font size to like 30. Now, whenever you click on anything, it will leave an X that is far larger and more X and O-y, right? Another thing that we're still kind of missing is getting that resetting functionality. So for this, let's actually practice creating another function. All right, let's create a new function called clear. All right, so guys, go under procedures and create a new one called clear. And in this procedure, what we're going to do is we are going to get every single button and we're just going to erase it. All right, we're going to clear the button. All right, so we're going to go button 2 dot text. We're going to set the text to nothing. So we're going to get an empty string. And then we're going to duplicate this over and over again for each button once again.
I just did it for when it just clicks the button. I didn't use a procedure.
Yeah, for now that should work, but later if you want to add like the windscreen, this could be useful. But this is just to practice making some procedures. Theoretically, you could go along without this. You can always theoretically go along without procedures and variables. Not without variables.
Well, I have a weird way of transfer. Well, it's not really weird. It can be used. I have a weird way of transferring information. I just set the label visible to false, and then when somebody wins, like there'll be a clock that ticks every millisecond, and then so it's because I don't know why sometimes screen one initialize doesn't work, and yeah, each 1 millisecond, if like when somebody wins, I'll set the label to X wins, and then in the clock it'll say if label text equals X wins, then it'll open a screen of the winners. It'll open the winner's screen.
Ah, okay. All right, guys. So you see here, we have our clear function. I'll give you guys a second to do this, but after you're done that, grab the reset button and just say on click of our reset button, we're going to call clear. Bam. So you see for this part right here, I could have just as easily just put all of these in here. All right. But if we were to ever use clear again somewhere else, this would make it so we don't have to rewrite all of that code.
And that's the beauty of functions and procedures. Those are mini programs that you can call from anywhere, right? And that's how all the programmers pretty much build their portfolio. They just build those little programs that are universal and that they can use in any other program. And then it's just less typing for them, okay? So all programmers are lazy people, and if you catch yourself in duplicating something, doing something 2 or 3 times, it's time to actually write a mini code, mini function, just like, it's like a little capsule that you can just throw it into any code that you write in the future, okay? So it's a very good thing for you guys to learn, and I love how easy they teach it here. Perfect.
Then let's just put in.
Okay. So did all of you guys manage to get this clear function? All right.
Yeah.
So don't worry if you haven't finished it yet. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to quickly blow your brains. All right. You guys are about to get completely mind blown. It's going to be incredible. All right. So do you see how we have just spent like forever duplicating all of these functions and making a lot of them for all the buttons?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if instead of making 9 separate ones of these, we could just make one and say, do it for all of them?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering how to do like forever.
Wouldn't that be just like incredible? All right. I am here to say that it is possible. And now we're going to take a look at how we can do it. All right. So what I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all of these. All right, if you are not convinced yet, you can leave them for a second and watch what I do and then make your decision of whether you will follow. But you see here, I have this one guy right here. All right, now this next part is a little bit advanced-ish. So if you don't want to do it, I understand, you don't have to. But it is pretty cool and it's very, very good for, you know, keeping your code really short. So for instance, if I had a program that had like way more buttons, we were lucky this time. We only had 9 buttons. 9 buttons is manageable. But if I had like 100 separate buttons and I wanted them all to do the same thing for some reason, it would be a lot easier to do it with what method I'm about to show. Yeah, Eric?
Wait, can I guess what's gonna happen?
What's gonna happen?
So are we just gonna make a list with all the buttons? We're gonna make a variable that's a list with all the buttons in it?
We actually will not be doing that, but technically,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Actually, that wouldn't work either.
Yeah.
That might work. I'm not sure. Anyway, so the next part, what we're going to do is I'm going to right click on this thing that says when button 2.click. All right. Here you see nothing that's very special, right? You see download blocks as PNG, make generic, blah, 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 right? But this button here that says make generic is actually very powerful. If you click on this, you will see instead of this, the block kind of mutates, and instead of saying when button 1.click, it says when any button.click. So now it's saying if you ever click any button on the screen, it will run this code inside.
But what about the reset button?
So that's what we're going to get to in a second. You'll also notice that, let me Control Z this real quick. Before, here it says set button to dot background color to, oh wait, this is supposed to be text. Does this work before? Okay, here. It says when set button to dot text to get global next turn. All right, when I right click on this, instead of saying set button to, notice what happens. All right, I'm gonna make this entire function generic. All right, it's gonna say set button dot text, so that stays the same, of component, and it says get component here. All right, this get component is linked to this component menu up here. So it's basically saying set the text of the button that was clicked, all right, to get global next turn. So this part stayed the same, but now instead of saying set button 1.text to, or set button 2.text to, or set button 3.text to, it's saying set the button of the component that was clicked to global next turn. And then this part here, call the next turn, switch next turn, stays exactly the same. That didn't change at all. All right, but this now works. Now, the problem that Ari pointed out is if this happens to every button that gets clicked, won't it also happen to our reset button? And yes, he is correct. It will also happen to our reset button. But they have another thing that is kind of that was kind of implemented into this here, into this generic function. If you notice here, there's a little other option here that says not already handled. What not already handled is it says basically if you click on a button, it will return if that button has another piece of code that it could be running. So if I were to click on my reset button, right, I already have something that says when reset button .click and do something. So the not already handled for my reset button is false because my reset button is handled by other code. All right. But if I click on any of my other buttons, they don't have any code specifically for them. So they are not handled. So that comes back true. So what we can do is we can actually make an if statement that uses not already handled to determine if I'm clicking on the reset button or on any other button. All right, so we're going to go under control, if, and I'm just going to pop this code in here. And then here for if, we don't actually have to do a lot at all. All we have to do is drag if not already handled. All right, and it's basically saying exactly what it is. It's saying if this block is not, if this button is not already handled, treat it as like an X and O button and switch it to X and O's. If it is already handled, then it won't do anything because we didn't include an else. If we included an else, it would do something. But for now, all we have is an if then.
How did you get the set and button text of component 2?
If you don't have that part specifically, you can just like look at this. If I drag out a set button 2.text, if I drag this out, I right click on it and click make generic, it converts itself into that.
Oh.
Right click, make generic.
Can you maybe now just show the entire thing one more time for those who weren't convinced and didn't follow?
Yes.
Who's getting Discord messages?
Me.
Okay. Let me quickly undo everything. Okay. So this is what we started with. What you want to do is you want to right click on the when button 2.click and click make generic. All right. After that, all you need to do is go to control, get an if then statement, and put all of the code inside that if then statement. And for the condition for our if statement, you're going to drag out not already handled and just slap that in there. All right, and that basically replaces all of that code that we had before. And additionally, now if we ever want to change something that happens, we only have to put it once in here instead of putting it 9 different times in 9 different places. Right?
That helped out a lot.
We have just shortened all of the code. All right, this would also be useful. For example, if remember when we were doing like mini golf and we had our ball bouncing off of walls?
Yeah.
If we, for instance, made another game that was similar to that, but instead of having just one ball, we had like 100, and we wanted all 100 balls to bounce off of walls, right? This would be very easy to implement, and it would just make it so all of those just bounce around the screen instead of having to individually put a bouncing method on each single one of those balls. All right, so this just shortens our code like crazy. It's very nice. And it should work. Let me actually give this a test real quick.
There's something wrong with mine.
So now we basically learn how to toggle, to make toggling buttons.
Yeah, so it does work for me. And these buttons, yeah, they kind of switch. They don't necessarily always toggle, because if you click, if you click an X, that means your next one is an O. So if you click on an O again, it doesn't switch anything. But yes, this code works. I just tested it. It's very nice.
Wait, so now can we make the detection feature?
Yeah, we can take a look at the detection feature. I have never actually tried to implement a detection feature in this, so I will be kind of experimenting alongside with you. So if I do something that looks kind of weird, don't worry about that. This is kind of like a in progress thing. This is a further than I intended with this game.
Wait,
but yeah, if you guys,
Asia, what's up?
The top middle button, always change it to whatever that button is.
What do you mean?
So the
Do you want to share your
button
screen so we can see?
yeah, hold up. Asia, can you share a screen?
no, it's on my phone.
Oh, okay. Wait, it doesn't work on your phone?
Yeah, because when I press, because all the buttons work except for the middle one, the top.
Okay, yeah. So could you share your screen so we can take a look at the code?
Or just show your phone.
Oh, we can't troubleshoot it.
No, we don't need the phone. Like, we get the problem. We just need the code, right?
Share. Am I doing it right?
Can you go to the coding part? Go to blocks. Okay, so here's one little problem. Under where do you have switch next turn?
Yeah.
Can you go to that procedure? Yeah. Can you delete the thing that says set button 3.text? Yeah, that should happen. Yes, you can just delete that. There you go. Apart from that, can you just move around so I can see the rest of your code?
No, it works now.
Oh, it works? Okay, yeah, there you go then. Is it?
Here.
I finally figured out how to do that.
Yeah, this is actually very cool. I did not know. I just started researching this prior to this lesson, so this is also new information. But yeah, it's very powerful, very cool, and very convenient. This is something that most programming languages have built into them, and luckily MIT App Inventor also does. Okay. And this is actually something that you can do with most other functions as well. So not necessarily just buttons. You can do this with literally anything else you have. All right.
Is there a way to put borders around your buttons?
Put borders around the buttons. Let's take a look. Let me share.
I just made them little black squares on my. Oh wow, that's not helpful.
Little black squares.
Hold on, let's see.
Mhm.
So then when I press it, it turns white. Well, the square doesn't turn white, but the text is white. Very fun. For aesthetic purposes, you know.
There is no like border color or anything.
No, I just found a black image and then
Oh yeah, you can just put an image
just
with
a
a black
sneaky
border.
sneaky.
Okay. It does not look like you can natively add borders to the thing. Switching the color of it, like Emily did, is one solution you could do. Also, what you might be able to do is if you made all your buttons like whatever color they are now, and then you set your background color to be black. What is my background right now? My background color is default. If I set it to be black, firstly, everything disappears. So let me make my text white.
Yeah, because the gaps are pretty much the borders, right?
But yeah, now then you could make the gaps the borders. So let me actually try this to see how this works.
By changing the background color, you can play with the border color.
Well, yeah, you can just change the table arrangement's background color. No, that won't work.
Yeah, or you could actually just change the table arrangement background if it has one. Hold on.
But no, there isn't a background color for the table arrangement.
Changing you can't see. Why does it do this? Okay, I don't know if you can see that. So I made the background black, and now it has like kind of grid lines.
Okay.
You can change the color of the buttons as well. So for instance, if you don't like this weird gray color, you could make them white on black, and then that looks actually pretty cool. All right. Additionally, the buttons have, if you go under here where it says shape, you can actually change the shape. So by default, it's got these like kind of rounded edges. You can either set them to completely rectangular, so they've got like super sharp edges like that, or you can, give me a second, you can make them like ovular.
Okay.
Or rounded.
Yes.
They're really
Usual tic-tac-toe grids.
Rectangular is probably actually best for this. That looks kind of nice. Yeah.
So if the detection is too hard, can we at least can we try to do a tiny database of how much winds there is?
Yeah.
On that phone?
We need to be able to detect winds to make.
Oh yeah. We still need to detect.
How many of you guys would be interested in trying to detect any winds on this game?
Well, I would.
Would you guys be interested?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like a small majority. Sure. All right. Okay. Keep in mind this part. I do not already have code for this, so I will maybe stumbling along the way a little bit. But we can probably go through this and try to see if we can detect if we have any 3 in a rows. All right. This will be a little bit weird. Let's try this. All right. So let's talk about how we win in this game first. Okay. So when we win in this game, it's going to have to get 3 in a row in any direction. All right. So for detection, we need to be able to see what value is in each of these and to see if there's 3 in a row in any dimension. Do you have any ideas?
So what I was thinking is so basically just checking if the value of like button 3, button 4, and button 5 are the same, and then just doing that for each one.
But then
How many combinations are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8?
7, 8. Like there's just gonna be 8 if conditions.
I guess we can do it for all the combinations, but
That would be one way to do it, yeah.
That was just the most intuitive way that I could think of now.
Either you're muted.
Yeah, your only options are what? Horizontal.
Vertical and diagonal.
There's 8 possibilities.
3 vertical, 3 horizontal, and 2 diagonal.
3, yeah. So if you just can check if the values are the same in all those
Brute force it.
yeah, then you call it win, right?
Is there an easier one?
But then you have to have another one for tie in case all the 9 squares are.
Well, that would just be your else case.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's only if you have them completely full.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Once your grid is full, you check if like any 3 of those combinations are all the same.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can we do it the other way?
Well,
for this, potentially what we could do, you guys see this, we're going through like the development process right now. All right, this is like how you would actually do it if you were creating apps.
This is great. This is like
You
real life coding, right?
Don't know where you're going with anything.
Live coding.
Yeah, so another thing we could do to actually store the values, what we could do is we can make a blank list with 9 slots, and then order as in like top 3, middle 3, bottom 3, and then we have to kind of order everything.
Let's hear Eric's idea. I think Eric had some ideas too.
Well, I guess if we can make a list of when a button, we can make 9 labels that aren't visible, and for like it's the A combination still, but we can make so each time you click a button, let's say if you click the first button from the grid, it'll be like it'll put the first label to probably just click button 1 clicked, and then we'll run a clock that runs every millisecond, and then we'll check if let's say if like the first, the 4th, and the 5th are in one, if, well, it's kind of hard to explain, but so there'll basically be 3 labels, and when you click one of the slots, it'll just make the label like that's dedicated to the slot to probably click.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just to expand on Eric's idea, it just sparked something else. What we can do every time you click a button, like we can create a list where we just put that button's number in a slot. Like if the button 2 was clicked, you put it on the first position. Let's say if it's button 3,
that's what I was saying, but instead of a position,
and
you
then
put it
just
to a
do the
label.
math, right? Because our buttons go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How does it go?
9, because
Yeah, but I was starting with second button. Oh, then we have 10 buttons, right? So, and then we can do just math, Tim. We can do just math.
We can do if like 3 consecutive spaces are placed.
Exactly.
Alternatively, if they skip, like
or if
3.
that plus 3 in each case, right? So we can do just math to determine the horizontal and vertical.
How about diagonal?
Diagonal's 2.
Plus 2?
Well, for the
But you can't just use 2, because then what if you go like 2 and then 6? That's not a win.
Based on the button number that we click, we can position them in the correct slot in the list. Then we can just do math with that to figure out who
Oh, the other diagonal is plus 4.
So yeah, I feel like honestly, if you do math, you're gonna end up with more problems.
Yeah, just do the cases, because you're gonna have to do the same thing for your math anyways. You need an individual case for like.
Whichever is easier and simplest for low
Root code it, Tim.
All right. First thing we need to be able to see is if you can actually get an item at an index in a list.
Bougie here.
That is very bougie. Good job.
Thank you.
Hold up. So okay, look, if we were to create a list inside a variable, I'm just coding right now. You guys don't have to don't follow along with this yet. I want to see if this works. If we're creating a variable, this is slots, and we assign it a couple values. How would we access an item at an index from this? Okay, index and list. No, wait, that gets the index in the list.
Yeah, I'm gonna try something.
Length of list. Okay, hold up. Index and list.
My mouse stopped mousing.
Okay, wait, select item list. Okay, here you go. This one. This is what we need. So this tool right here, guys. So if you're actually wondering what I was doing, occasionally, if you ever don't know how to do something in App Inventor, you can always Google it. All right. So if you want to search up what a certain block does or how to do a certain thing, you can go to Google, search up how to do it, and then add like MIT App Inventor on the end of it, and it will bring up whatever you're looking for. So for instance, in this case, I have found a block that allows us to get an item at a certain index. So the first thing what we're going to do, all right, is we're going to create a blank list. All right.
I think I found a pretty easy way to do this.
What did you find?
Basically what I'm just doing is I have, like, it's going to be tedious, but I'm going to have one control block, and it's just going to go if button2.text equals button3.text equals button4.text. Win. Else.
Honestly, that is basically the same thing, but this way just adds.
I'm just not using a list. Yeah, go for it. You do your thing.
List might not actually be shorter because the way you access something at an index is just as long as getting the button text. All right, we might as well just do that then. Okay, so we're gonna make a new procedure, guys. All right, we're gonna call this procedure. Okay, so you're gonna get the to do procedure. We're gonna make this procedure called check win. All right, and what this is going to do is every single time you press an X or no, it's going to check to see if someone has won. Okay, in here, we are going to put a ton of if statements. All right, we are going to put an if statement.
I actually just put one if statement that has many if-else conditions.
If-else conditions.
Just if, else if, else if, else if.
Yes, yes.
But Tim, wouldn't you need the other procedure that returns the result? Because you need the win or lose variable, right?
That can be you can have a global variable for win or lose, and then you can just set it.
You don't even need to. You can just put the win or lose as the then.
Yeah. Anyways, you do.
Yeah, but then to get access to that from outside of the procedure, don't you want to return it, the result?
No.
Okay, we can change that afterwards if
Okay,
it doesn't
that's
work.
great.
Okay, so we're gonna say if we need to figure out how to do a triple equals real quick.
I just embedded an equals and an equals.
So you're just gonna do an equal and then an equal inside it?
Yeah, which
Yeah.
I don't know if that's actually legal.
That's kind of a pain.
No, it's not, because that will equal true, and that's wrong. And that's what.
Technically, that would work. Triple equal.
No, that won't work. But what you can do is if button2.text equals button3 and button2 equals button4, then you know that 3 and 4 are the same.
Yes, that works. All right. Ands are under here also. Okay, so that was right. What we're going to do now here is we're going to check all the possible win conditions. All right, so let me get up a tic-tac-toe board real quick so we can talk about all of the different ways you can win. Oh my God, this is actually a game.
That's so nice.
All right. So if you have a tic-tac-toe board like this, all right, or like this one here, who can tell me how many ways are there to win? All right.
8.
There are 8 ways to win. All right. So as you know, you can go across, right? 3 times. You can go downwards, and you can go diagonally, right? So there's 3 this way, 3 this way, which is 6 plus 2 for the diagonal. All right. So we're basically going to hard code each and every one of these, which is going to be long and painful, but it will end up with the correct result. All right. So where is this here? So how we're going to do this is we're basically going to check, give it a second to leave.
Actually, not that bad. Not that painful of a procedure.
If this slot is equal to this slot, and this slot is equal to this slot, that means you won. If this slot is equal to this slot, and this slot is equal to this slot, that means you won. If this slot is equal to this slot, and this slot equals to that slot, that means you won, okay? So basically, we're going to be using ands and a bunch of equals, all right? So we're going to say, if, we're going to pull out an and like this, and pull out 2 equals like this. All right, and before we actually go here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the designer and give my buttons better names. Because right now, this button here is named 2 for some reason.
I just drew out a grid of where all my buttons are.
Yeah, I'm just going to actually give these like hard numbers. I'm not even going to give them like a full name. I'm just going to call them Okay, you can't
That's
go.
smart. Yeah, just
I'm gonna
no.
go like B1. All right, and then I'm gonna make sure that I'm going in order because right now it's actually going down like this. I want to go across, so I'm gonna go here. Name this one B2. Name this one B3. Name this one B4. B5. B6. B7. B8. And B9. Oh, wait, I just named the same one. It's different things. Hold up. Okay. B4, 5, 6, B7, B8, and B9. Okay, now I decently should be able to know where everything is because the numbers make sense. All right. And if you want to do the thing that Emily did and draw out a little grid on a piece of paper with the name.
That's what I'm already doing. That's a really good
that could be
idea.
something helpful for you guys as well. All right. So I'm going to start with the horizontals because I think that'll probably be easiest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if b1.getText is equal to b2.getText. And for this, guys, you can use copy and paste repeatedly. I'm actually going to move
I've
everything
just been
over, so I have-
duplicating it and then plugging it in.
Yeah, and I'm actually just going to copy this equals and replace this equals here. And replace this with B2 and B3. So there you go. I have just completed one win condition. All right. Emily, are you using ORs or a bunch of elifs?
I'm just using a bunch of elifs.
Okay.
ORs would make this very complicated.
That would make it very complicated. But then, okay, then we're probably going to make a function to put in here because I don't want to copy and paste that a bunch.
It's actually not bad.
Well, you can do if else.
Imagine if you put a then in here.
Oh, that will be a function.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
But I'm just going to do the then later. I'm just finishing all the if elifs first.
So right now we have created one win condition. We said if the first, second, and third slot are all equal, then you do something. All right. So I need to make my second condition. I'm going to scoot everything over again because I still need more space here because this is a massive thing. All right.
But then
I'm going to add.
how do we check if it's an X or an O?
So you can check that later because if you have like everyone, so let's say you have a horizontal row, right? And every single one is the same. Then if you pick any single one, that's going to be the one that won, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So
Or
you
you
just
can you
pick
just-
whatever text is in any one of those three, and that's going to be the winner.
You can just take.
Yeah, but how do we like check that in this?
If somebody just won, that means they just placed a block, which means that the opposite of what next turn is right now is whoever won. So you can
That's
just you can run switch next turn and then check what its value is, and that will give you whoever's turn just happened, right? So whoever's turn just happened won the game. So their X or O is the winner. All right.
Because I have a special winning. I have if O won, and I have an X win screen and a O win screen.
Okay. So yeah, once we're done with making one if, we're gonna drag an else if in here, and we're gonna have to completely do this again right here. So I'm gonna swap these up. I'm gonna go 4, 5, 5, 6. I'm gonna drag another else if right here. I'm gonna have 8 of these else ifs. All right, so this is gonna be very nice and repetitive. 7, 8, 8, 9. That wasn't even that bad. See, so I already have all 3 horizontal win conditions. All right, and their thens. Okay, we're gonna add another else if. All right, and now we're gonna do our vertical ones. So I'm gonna say if 1 is equal to 4 and 4 is equal to 7.
Wait, how many else ifs do we need?
7.
7? Okay.
I think so. Okay, if 1 is equal to 4, if 2 is equal to 5 and 5. Yeah, Jaden, do you have a question?
I can't place the else ifs.
Okay, so if you click on the setting icon on the if,
Yeah.
you'll see an else if here. You're just going to drag that in underneath the if.
Okay.
Okay, I think there isn't any situation in which you shouldn't be able to do it. Okay. All right, yeah, let's go back. So I'm gonna add another else if. And I have B3, B6, B6, and B9. I'm just finished all of my vertical ones. Now I'm just missing 2 diagonals. Okay, and my 2 diagonals are going to be B1, B5, and B9. All right, and my next diagonal is going to be, oh, no, I want to put this.
I got the 1.
Oh, no.
Alright.
This is getting too long. I'm going to need to zoom out real quick.
I'm just gonna cover this guy.
Okay, last diagonal.
Nine.
B3, B5, B5, and B7.
2,
All right, there you go. That's all of the win conditions
5,
outlined there.
8.
Okay, I will give you a very long time now to
Can you please
try to
zoom
get.
in?
Okay, and then afterwards we'll take a look at how we can actually make it win or do something when it wins.
1.
3, 6, 6.
Can you
Gonna
please
put-
zoom in to them?
Hmm?
Can you please zoom in?
Yes. I'll zoom in as far as I can without it going off the screen.
5,
Oh no.
9,
Is that okay?
3,
What?
5, 7. Oh my god.
And then we just set the one of the texts to set the winner text to winner.
Yep.
But wait, next, don't we need to do if we're trying to say like if an X or an O1, can we just put another text in there? Well, no, that won't work.
So I stuck a little I stuck a little label at the bottom. And then I'm just changing the value. Like initially the label was just like click a square to place your marker, and then I switched it to this guy won. We're all very excited.
I searched up a thing on how people do this in actual like tic-tac-toe games.
Yeah.
They make a counter for each row, and they
Oh, that's cool.
and they check if one person has ever put.
And then whenever the counter hits 3, you just
Yeah.
that's cool. I like that. That's all again.
That is
Wait, can we add another label that said it's X's turn and it's O turn? It's
Yeah, you can.
O's turn? Because that'll help out on the actual code of saying if a O1 or the X1.
It won't necessarily help with that, but it would be like a nice user touch.
But no, so I want to, it'll use like the variable and then, well, yeah, I'll set the opposite. I'll say the opposite of the, no, that won't quite work, but I'll set the opposite of the variable, but yeah, I'll just use this for so they know which turn's going on now.
I'm almost done.
Arrangement and then O's turn.
Sam? Oh wait, never mind. The heck? Triangular. Up into P8. 8. Where the heck is P8?
On checking your win conditions, what I'm gonna do next here is I'm gonna try to add that procedure that we're gonna put if we win. So I'm gonna make a new procedure again, right here. I'm gonna call this win function.
Okay.
All right. And in my win function, what I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to set a label to say somebody won. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a label on my screen down here. Make it have white text so you can see it. And say click squares to place X's and O's. All right,
I'm
increase.
just gonna make a win screen.
And there you go. All right, I'm gonna call this my label, my win label. All right, I'm gonna make it so that whenever I win, I'm going to take my win label and I'm gonna set its text to. I'm gonna need to add together the last player's turn and the string won the game or something. All right, so I'm gonna say like X won the game. All right, and for this under text, there's actually an option here called where's it? Join. Here you go. Join. So I'm gonna set win label text to join, and I'm going to join my my global next turn variable and the string won the game. All right, I'm gonna make sure to put a little space here at the beginning because I don't want the X to smush together with my won the game. All right. One little problem we have here. If I click a box to place an X, my global next turn variable will now be equal to O. And O did not win the game, X won the game. So what I need to do is I need to actually switch that variable and then place it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call a procedure here. I'm gonna call switch next turn first, and then I'm going to run get global next turn, okay? And then I'm gonna take this win function and I'm just going to put it in every single.
Wait, I need to do something for a second.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, this is the win. Can I share my screen for a second?
Yeah.
So this is the win function, right? Then I need to put it for. Then I need to put for like.
Where's the win function? This is not the win function. No. This
I
is
mean, no. This is like the switch turn.
the switch
yeah,
turn. Yeah.
This is the switch turn code, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can. I'll just stop sharing now.
All right. I'm gonna give this a test real quick, just to
Can I
see.
see the screen again?
You need to
Yeah. Give me,
tell it when to check this thing.
we did. Yeah, we have not told it when to check. Actually, that is a
Yeah.
good point. Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Reset.
Yeah.
Could you put it to the designer for 1 second?
Yeah, I see your screen.
Okay, thanks.
But yeah, we do need Emily made one point. We need to actually take this function, check win, and we need to do it at some point. Right? This right here is just a function. It's not actually being run until you call it somewhere else. Right? So you see here we've defined all these functions over here. But we actually need to go use them somewhere else. Right? So we need to use check win somewhere. Luckily, we only need to place it once. We just need to place it down here, right below, right above. Oh, if we actually put it above, we wouldn't need to switch the next turn.
Yeah, but put it below because we already switched to next turn.
Or what if we just put it above and delete the switch next turn?
Yeah, well, it's up to you.
Okay, anyway, sure. Okay, no, it's kind of a waste. And then they'll just mess things up. Anyway, I'm going to delete switch next turn here. Guys, what I just did, I noticed that after you change the text, we have a little bit of time here to squeeze in the check win condition before we switch our next turn variable. So I'm going to go back to my win function and delete this part that switches our next turn variable. All right. So what this will do is it'll make it so that if you win, it's going to check if you win, right? It's going to put that label that says if you win, and then it's going to switch next turn after it sets that label. All right. And now, let me give this a test. Let me just Okay, one other problem. These rectangles that we put in our designer here, when you actually load it onto a phone, they merge together and make one continuous white square. So I'm going to really quickly take all of these rectangles and switch them back to their default shape, because that leaves gaps in between, which looks significantly better. All right, let me go back to my code so you guys can see. And let me test this. Okay, if I click, wait. What? Oh, we have a problem.
Hold on, Tim. Asya, under the like regular designer, when you're looking at it, do you have a label underneath your reset button?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if you go back to your blocks, on the left in your like blocks options, if you click on that label, there's a bunch of options, and it's like set label 1 dot text 2.
Wait, now all my things are just getting set to O's.
Give me a second.
Yeah.
We'll get your code in a bit.
See that?
Emily,
Mine doesn't work.
Jen, okay, we're going to go through all the code in 1 second.
Here, hold on, one sec. Asya, first. So
Yeah.
to get the set win label, the only reason it's win label is because Tim changed the name of his label to win label. In
Okay.
your case, it'll be set label 1 or something, too.
Okay.
Right? Did you get that?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, Tim, what problem are you having? Because I'm not having that problem.
Have you tried it emulating on your phone?
Yep.
Does it work?
Yeah.
Does it not instantly declare that someone won because you have 3 blanks in a row?
Oh, yeah. Basically, 3 blank. Oh, sneaky. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, okay. So we need to somewhere put something that they have to be some kind of letters.
Wait, each time I just place an O, it just sets it to won the game already.
So what I'm gonna do,
I might turn back to
Tim,
oh.
I'm saying that initially when we have in our if else if statement, the first if case, just check if there's something there. If there's something in any of the rows, then just leave the text as is.
Can we just add another and to
Wait,
each of
so
this?
wait, this is happening.
Avoid
Each time I said I can just click anywhere and it just says O's won the game.
So kind of like Tim said, the reason that's happening is because when you first have it, it's true. Wow, okay. It's true that the value of this one and this one and this one is the same, right? Because they're all empty, right?
Yeah.
And your input variable right now is X, so when we switch it, it's O, right? And so
Yeah.
that's the reason he thinks that O is winning. And we can't have that. So what I'm saying is that we have an initial variable that basically checks. And Irad is right, we could just put another and in the conditions and just being like, and it's an X or an O. I'm right now trying to think of
No, Emily, I suggest just put another and say that and B2 is not blank.
That's what I'm saying. We could add an and to every single condition, but I want to avoid changing every single condition by just having one condition.
Okay.
What condition? What one condition could you add to this?
So basically just if, let me think.
Because you can't necessarily even say that if 3 blocks have been placed.
No, you just need to check that at least one of them is not blank, right? So if button 1 equals to button 2 and equals to button 3 and at least one of them is not blank.
Yeah, I think it's easier if we do it Arada's way. I'm trying to just think of a universal condition that we can use at the beginning just to see if
I don't think
there's.
there is one.
I don't think there is one either.
Mine's not working. It doesn't show the text up. The one text doesn't show up.
Okay, we can just add another and to each condition.
Yeah, it seems like we probably have to.
Mine isn't working.
Yours is not working. Ours is not working either right now. So give us a second to fix the code, and then we will just share. You can share your screen, and we'll take a look.
But I'm still using another device, so.
Or can you add something to your win function, Tim? That would analyze that there are no blanks.
No.
But the thing is, you can have blanks in the thing and someone can win, right? Like in this case, this grid has lots of blanks, but there is a clear win.
There has to be a better way. Hold up. What if?
Wait, if it checks first if all of them are empty, if it detects that it's the same, maybe we can just set the text color to none, but then when it finds out there's a win and they're all the same, we can just set it to black.
So the problem is that initially there is a win, according to our logic, right?
This is like a very
Because
hacky
3
way.
empty spaces are all equal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We can set all the empty spaces to a different letter and then just set the text color to nothing. And then
We
when
actually could. That's actually a good idea.
Or even it doesn't even necessarily need to be a letter. Like if we just put spaces, but like each one has a different amount of spaces.
yeah, I'm just let's just put like a letter but set the text color to none for each one of it.
It's just that you have to
then you have to change the text color back. Spaces is probably easier though. If you just do like 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, 5 space.
Oh yeah. But first let's set them all to
Tim, the other way to do it, I think, is if your check win is only analyzing if there are equality and returns true or false, but then in your win function, you do another else if statement. So if that one's true and none of this is blank, right? Then you can do the win function in your win function.
But the win function doesn't know which win case is happening.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't need to know as far as
Then how will it know which place to check?
Because the thing is that you can't check if the grid is full, right? Because it's possible to win before the grid is full.
I see, okay.
Yeah. But I like Tim's idea of the spaces, because if you put a different number of spaces in each one, you don't have to change the text color, you don't have to change the text size, but the values will no longer be the same.
So easiest way to probably do this, you're also going to have to change the spaces in the clear. So what we could do is we could just make it so that one has no space, one has 1 space, 2 space, 3 space.
Yeah, I tried that, and let's see if
1, 2, 3,
it
4,
works.
5. 1,
The
2,
only thing
Is
is
it
this
still
is gonna be
connected?
problems that in our reset, we're going to have to change it. So
Yeah,
it's
so
just
that's what I'm doing. In my clear, I'm shifting it. And then instead of going and shifting the actual values in the designer, what we could do is we can go screen 1 dot on initialize start by clearing the screen. And it will set all those values to the proper values.
Yeah, that's easier.
There you go. I think that's the quickest.
Yeah. Just have them be different values.
Oh, it works now. Tim's idea works with all the spaces.
Yeah. Because they're no longer the same value, right?
Yeah.
Let's test this. Hold up.
Finally.
Yeah, I think theoretically it should work. And now also, if you do it this way, where you add the spaces in the code.
But I don't know why when you reset, when I reset it, it just, oh, okay, yeah. I need to change the spaces in the
Okay,
code
yeah, mine
too.
worked too. Oh, just won the game. All right, yes. So, guys, new solution. To make it so that all of your values are not the same right off the bat, go to your clear and make it so that each value has a different amount of spaces. So you're going to have 0 spaces, 1 space, 2 space, 3 space, 4 space, 5 space, 6 space, 7 space, 8 space. All right. And then this part is kind of funky because I don't think we've actually done this before. When you first start your app on your phone or anywhere, a little function that's called screen1.initialize gets run. So if you click on screen 1, you see here screen1.initialize. So as soon as you open your app, this runs. And what we can do is we can put a value in here. So then what it says is it means that as soon as you open your app, the first thing that needs to happen is you need to run your clear function.
Wait, Tim, I think this is a glitch. I don't know, but when I start my app out, there's like this button is a hole, but when I click somewhere and then it's not a hole, and then it just puts something in a random place.
Oh, for that, do you see my screen?
Yeah.
Make sure that all of your buttons shapes are set to default, because I noticed that if you set
Yeah, they are though. They are. I
Are
think
they?
it's just a bug in the system.
then it looks like it's just a glitch, because
Yeah.
I haven't experienced that.
Yeah, they're all default.
Tim,
Yep.
Press the button, it automatically
when I'm using my tic-tac-toe, it's only on X. It doesn't change to O.
It never switches to O.
Yeah.
different problem.
Can you share your screen?
Yeah.
But another glitch is that I don't know if it's a glitch or this time it's an actual bug. Because this time, like it switches for most of the time, but then at one point it doesn't switch.
Okay, so Adil, let's take a look.
Let's see what's going on with slot 2. Nothing though.
Okay, so what's probably happening? Why are you making a list?
That's what you told.
That we started with that. I think we deleted that though. You can delete that part. That's fine.
I'm just gonna
So yeah, what's happening, I think, is okay, you added the space thing. You might have added the space thing incorrectly. It should be okay though.
I have a problem. I also have a problem.
No, this isn't a glitch. This is actually in the system. What's happening though?
Toggle next turn. Blah blah.
Mine's not
Wait, Adil, you're saying it's still only placing O's?
No, only X's.
Only X's.
a problem. So like whenever I press a button, like if it was a O on that button, it would automatically say it went. Like just as I press the button.
And it still says you on the. Oh shoot.
Okay, can you just try uploading it to your phone one more time? Maybe you just had the old version before. Because I don't see much wrong with this.
Yeah, this bug is actually really big and I don't know how to fix it.
Go through the buttons and make sure none of them are set to rectangular.
What's the bug?
No, none of them are.
Alright, what's up?
His buttons
Still
are
only X.
What's wrong with your button?
Adil, does it work?
Like
No?
they just stick together and then I need to
Doesn't
click
work?
them so they separate. Sometimes they separate, sometimes they don't. I need to click the bottom one so they can separate.
Oh, that's interesting. Here, let's see.
Okay,
Can I
Jaden, we'll help
see
you in a
your
second. Just
Oh, one sec. Let me just look at what's.
Adil, I actually everything here.
So, do you have actual sizes for your buttons? Like, did you change?
No, they're all the same at least.
What are they?
They're like, wait, let's try this. Does this matter? I wonder.
Can you tell me what the width and the height of each of your rectangles is?
No, the width is Phil Parent, and I think
I think that's why.
I made it, but no, that still doesn't change anything. Some of them were 20 and some of them were 22, but I changed them all to 22, but it's still making the same glitch.
Change it so that you have a concrete number for width and height. So that
Okay.
height is always 20% and width is always 33% or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably because these are all 20s and the rest
Because I think
are
it's because you just have a fill parent for one of them, so it just auto adjusts.
Well, but no, I tried one of those. It doesn't work for some reason.
So change them all to 20 and 33.
Okay, then.
So it's 12:57. You want to go start the next meeting, and me and Emily will try to finish with this one.
I can't start the next one until I end this one.
Oh, okay.
Guys, so
who
there's
here has problems?
Oh,
I do.
it's fine.
I do.
Okay, it worked. I just had to set everything to the same.
Okay,
Yeah,
can
now
I need
see
help.
all the hands who still needs help?
I need help.
Okay, Aisha, Jaden, I see
I
you're
still
okay.
need help.
But there's still something wrong with
I'm not
SWOT
sure.
too.
There's
Cause
something wrong with my
phone
game.
died, so I don't know.
Okay,
Like-
how about then we cut off here, and next class we'll just start with debugging all this if you guys don't figure it out on your own, okay?
Yeah.
Just take
Okay.
a snapshot of Tim. Can you
Okay.
show your screen? Take a snapshot of that code. Try to play with it. Try to find where you made an error. And the first thing next class, we're gonna start with debugging each of your codes, whichever doesn't work. Okay? Yep.
But
so take a
okay,
snapshot.
well, but there's a small glitch here that the second to last thing I place is it doesn't switch it, like so O X O X O X and then O O O.
Okay, Eric, we have another class that starts
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
literally
we'll
2
figure that
minutes.
out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, and if you
Yeah.
can't solve it by the next class, at this moment, please everyone take a snapshot of this code
all
and
right.
try to finish it on your own. Try to compare your own code to this, and if you still have problems by the start of next class, we'll go through it with each individual.
How to take a snapshot?
So
I'll
what
do it.
kind of computer do you have?
A Mac?
Okay, if you hit Command, Shift, and 4,
All right.
Mac or on
Go
Mac.
over there. All right.
Okay, let us know if you all took a
All right.
snapshot of the code.
I did.
All right. It's not a glitch. The reason it starts doing O's nonstop is because you already won the game. When you press that one in the bottom left,
Oh,
it
okay.
gives you a row of O's.
Yeah. Okay.
So it like wins the game, and then some weird stuff happens in the code. All right.
Yeah.
Apart from that, guys, good job today. We did a ton of coding. Very cool app, and this last part here was really cool.
Tim, can you take a snapshot and just send to everyone in the chat?
Yes.
Yep. Just in case they have problems, they can just save the file. Yeah, so snipping tool is another great option to take a snapshot,
No, it's blocked.
but that's on the Windows computers, right?
Okay, guys. All right. We have to go start our next class. But good job today, and we will
Thank
see
you.
Excellent, excellent job, guys.
Bye.
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 Bye.